Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything. I'm coming back at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. In this video today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building this paper patrol boat. It's in 28mm, and it's got some unique features that I thought I'd want to share with you. Plus, we're just going to go ahead and assemble it. So let's take a look at the parts. Now, I was able to go to drive-through RPG and purchase this boat. It was just a couple of dollars. Maybe it was $1.50 or $2, something like that. I don't really remember, but it was pennies. And this is the guy who created this boat, and he did a really good job. And that's why I wanted to show it off to you. Okay, now I've got 3 pages here. It's a 3-page project. You've got the sails, and then an aft piece. You've got the inner boat and the masts, and then you've got the outer hull and the quarterdeck. Now you're saying to yourself, Mr. Everything, that boat looks like crap. Well, it does, but something pretty cool I've learned in Adobe that you might not have known, because I didn't know it until I started doing these paper models. There's a button right there for layers. You click on it, brings up all the layers. Now, there's the layer palette right here. You open it up, and you've got a long list of layers. So, what that basically shows you is a crate. Hey, look at that. It appears out of nowhere. And you can see how the wood is put on there. Crate 1, that wood there. And then you could go hide quarterdeck, and it gives you a crate and a barrel down there. I'm not going to hide the quarterdeck. Okay, and then if you wanted to add, remember this is the outside, if you want to add an anchor on the port side, or if you want to add an anchor on the starboard side, or neither, right? We're just going to leave the anchor on the port side just for FYI. Now, there's a border. You have 6 choices on the border. The border is, I'll show you when I click it. Yeah, see how that changes that right there? Different colors. Let's start at border 1. Border 1, kind of a gray. Border 2, kind of a light brown. Border 3, kind of a darker brown. Border 4, more red. Border 5, dark. And then border 6. Now I noticed that these are on top of each other. So if I put a border 1 on there, but I want a darker shadow, I'm sorry, the other way around. If I wanted a border 3, but I wanted a darker shadow, I could go border 2. Notice how the shadow changed. I could go border 1, make it even super dark. Okay. And then I could put in a royal insignia on there if I wanted, right? Royal insignia. And paint. Okay, now the paint is only the top half of the ship. There's a green, there's kind of a purplish, reddish, brown. Yeah, so let's go with like a purplish color. All right, now, then there's wood. Now the wood is the part beneath the paint. Okay, so I'm going to pick that one just for the major contrast, right? It also puts the wood here. Now I've got a deck. The deck will be here, and it kind of gives the color around here as well. So whichever deck you like, I like that one. All right, and then when you go to do the page 2, this is the inner, and it has exactly the same thing. There's layers. Now I can add oars to the side of my ship. I can add a harpoon. Okay, where'd it lay out? The harpoon's right there. I could do rope right there. And have an anchor. All that is the rope for the anchor. It's on the inside. Wait. Okay, we're going to get, whoa, I know. Let's get rid of all this stuff. because this one is the overlay. That's the main thing. You can't get rid of it. Jib sail rigging, that goes along the mast. Borders, you know, what I try to do is match up the borders from this side to the other page that I did. And then you got wood, and you got the deck. The deck is down here. This is the main deck. Different colors, different shades. All right, and then you got the mast. Oop, that was a good one. Okay, and then you got the mast booms. So you got the main mast, and then you got 2 booms that come off the mast. And that gives it some color. And you can color any of these by clicking. And I thought that was pretty cool. Now, if you go to page 3, the sails. Now, the sails, they're just this white color, but you can go with tans or yellows or... Okay, I'm clicking and you can't see what I'm clicking because I'm not unclicking. There you go. Kind of a off-white or gray. All really cool. Then you got the royal insignia, which goes on the back of the boat. And then you got the borders, which goes along there, which is also different colors. And remember, if you put more than one, you'll get deeper and darker shadows. The paint, same thing, kind of like what you have on the sides of the ship. All right. And then the wood is the bottom part of the ship. Okay, something I like really good about the sails are decorations. You can have the fleur-de-lis, or you can go with like the royal eagle or whatever it is, and then you've got stripes, right? Yeah, different colored stripes. I thought all that was super cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and print some of the, let's set the settings, print some of these out, and then we'll get to cutting. All right, now there's going to be a couple of tools you're going to need. Most likely you're going to need to have a cutting mat so you can cut on it. I recommend a really sharp set of scissors. These are Fiskars. And then you're going to want a very sharp X-Acto knife, a metal ruler for straight lines. But importantly, you need low moisture glue, either like a glue stick or even tacky glue is low moisture. So those, because high moisture will cause your model to warp and bend, so you want to stick with some low moisture. Now, any straight lines, I'm going to use an X-Acto knife and my ruler. Also, if I need to score a line to do any foldings, I'll be using that. But when it comes to rapid cutting out, I'm going to use the scissors, especially if it's a curved item like the sails. Okay, the first step, they say, is to cut everything out. All right, so how do I want to get started? Well, first of all, I'm going to cut everything out into pieces, not taking an accurate cut. Just cutting it out just like so. Then I will go back and try to cut exactly along the lines. But right now I'm just cutting each little piece out. So even here I could just cut that little piece off. Basically just to make each of these pieces a little bit more manageable. Yep, cutting every piece out, not just that one page. When I get all these cut this way, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I've got every little piece cut out with the excess, right? All right, so now because these sails are curved, I'm going to use the scissors, and there's a black line that I'm going to cut along. Now the sails aren't going to be just up with white on one side. They're double-sided. So there's two halves to the sail, and you're going to glue them together. We'll get to that in a minute. Now I'm using 110 cardstock, 110 pound cardstock. Paper is measured in pounds. Like my printer paper is 24 pounds, and my cardstock here is 110. I don't recommend using anything lighter than 80. 80 pound cardstock is about as light as you want to get. There is some 67 pound cardstock out there. Not good for modeling, I don't think. Just too thin. Too light doesn't, it's not rigid enough, in my opinion. Okay, well, you see what I'm doing with the sails. When I'm done cutting all the sails out, I'll be right back. Here is just a thought. If I wanted to have any kind of fleet or massive navy, every one of them could be completely different because of all the different options in the layers. Because I could have 6 different sails on 6 different painted ships on different wood types, with and without decorations on the sails. It's just the possibilities are endless. Okay, I'm still cutting. I'll be right back. All right, now here's an aft piece, and I've noticed that all the edges are straight. So I'm going to get my ruler. We're going to hit the black lines, and we're going to X-Acto knife them. See, it just comes right on off. Now, something I learned when I was a kid, or earlier when I was making models and paper models and stuff like that, there are these tabs. A lot of times there'll be tabs that they arbitrarily give you like a shape to cut. You don't need to worry about any of that. That you can cut at any shape as long as there's enough to fold underneath and glue. It could be any shape. Things are starting to come out. See, because this line goes straight and then turns. It doesn't need to worry about that. As long as you understand what the model's trying to do. See, I could even leave this piece gigantic because that would give you more room to glue it underneath. I'm not even going to cut that off. I'm going to leave it. I want it giant like that. Okay, but I am going to cut this inside out. Okay, now this, you will need an X-Acto knife. You would not be able to do this with a pair of scissors. Now I probably could fold it and then cut it because this is where the fold is, but I'm not. I don't know how long this process is going to take for this ship. Never done one before. You and I, we're doing this together. Oh, that piece pops right out. Nice. Okay, now we're not scoring and folding, I'm just cutting. There's an option not to use the quarterdeck, but for me, I'm going to use the quarterdeck. There's a nice tight round circle right there, and everything else is straight edges. So let's go ahead and just eyeball this shit. Now remember what I said about tabs. They can go in any direction. You don't have to follow the lines. But I try to keep it as close as possible. That way there's no like super big mistakes or anything being made. Okay, this piece should fold underneath this piece. So I probably could fold it, then cut it. Nope, because I think it would just be too hard to cut that circle. Could be wrong, but nope, you know what I'm going to do? Yep, let me get rid of this junk. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Okay, we're going to score that line where it's supposed to be scored. Okay, a score means you cut it, but not all the way through. That way when you go to fold it, it immediately wants to fold right where you scored it, so it makes a perfect straight line. Now I'm going to use my scissors to cut out those circles. And it was actually very easy with scissors. Super happy with that. Okay, and unfold it. There we go. That way when I fold it, it'll be up underneath behind that piece. I should probably cut that little piece off because it looks like that's where the fold is going to be. Okay, we're going to leave that off to the side where I keep going. All right, I'm just going to keep cutting, and I'll be back if there's anything special I need to say or show you. Okay, now on the sides of the ship, right, there are all these little tabs. And these tabs, the reason why they have these little notches that you do need to cut out is because this is a curved hull. And when you start wrapping this hull around, and then you start folding these tabs underneath the boat, you don't want them overlapping. So these notches allow for a curve. And when I mount it onto the deck, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. Now I am making these tabs a little extra large, like that, because I want them that large. I like extra large tabs. It helps when I'm applying glue to hold better. Okay, there's some large tabs there. All right, I'm continuing on, and I'll be right back. All right, now the next step before we start assembly is to, or I should say before we start gluing, is to score where the folds are going to be. Be sure not to cut through the paper. Find where all your scores are going to be. Score them. Put it off to the side, and we'll start gluing here in just a minute. All right, when I get done scoring all these, I'll be right back. All right, now we're going to go ahead and start gluing. You go ahead and get both of the hull pieces, and what we're going to do is we're going to glue the bow. That's the front pointy section of the ship. We're going to glue these together like this so that when we fold it, it'll be the front of the ship. Now I'm going to use my glue stick, purple. And a lot of times I'll use like something underneath it, like a sail or a piece of paper. I don't know if I have anything big enough really that can go underneath. Because basically I just want any over gluing, I don't want it to go on this. Okay. And we take these two pieces and we put them together, line them up, line the wood up, line the frame of it up, top and bottom. Apply some pressure to make sure that it's glued. Glued. Okay, it is glued. It is on there. Now what we do is we flip this over. You can see where it's glued together. Now we find the inner holes, which are these, and we're going to place them on the inside. And you notice that's going to cover where that was glued together. Okay. Find that fold. Okay. So far so good. Okay. Glue stickage. We're doing the same old thing. You can see how it's going on purple. That way I know what has glue and what doesn't. Don't need to be too excessive. Now we want to line up the tops and the back and everything and not have it get stuck too quickly. All right. I'm lining up the back, the sides, the top. Basically just trying to line everything up. Now, I use my Mark 1 applicator and I make sure I press nice and smooth. Get rid of any excess glue. Great. So that's the inner hull. Now we need to do the same on the other side of the boat. Looks pretty good. Line up the front with the top. And the back. Alright, so we've got our tabs, we've got our inner hull, we got our outer hull. So far so good. Don't worry about this white edging, we're going to get that fixed in the post-construction. Alright, so far that looks good. Alright, now I'm jumping sequence a little bit because I want to make sure I get some of this done and dried before we move on. So before we start putting them all together. These sails go together basically right on top of each other like that. So let's go ahead and apply some glue. I'm trying to make sure I get it all the way into the pointy areas and on the bottoms. I'm not too concerned about the middle of the sail. If I do get it in the middle, if I don't get it in the middle and there's air bubbles or something like that in the sail, that'd be fine because it'll be like it was flowing in the wind. Okay, that sail is pretty good. I'm going to stick it underneath my cutting mat just so it'll keep it laying flat. Then I'm going to do that with this other sail. And I'm going to do the same thing with this other sail. I'm going to stick it underneath here so it'll stay flat. Here we go. Now there's a rudder piece. Now the rudder, it's kind of a unique little piece. The tabs don't fold in, they actually fold out because I'll show you in just a minute. But let's go ahead and get this thing glued together. Basically, it was just folding it in half, you know. Okay, and I'll let that sit. Okay, now the backside of the ship will fold down just like this, just like normal, and then this will actually fold up into the ship as well. But before you do that, before you glue it together, the rudder sticks out the back. It goes through a little slit that you put in there so that the rudder will stick out the back of the ship. Thought that was pretty ingenious. Okay, but before I do that, I'm going to apply some glue to it. Whoa, that really didn't mean to do that. Okay. Let's go ahead and stick the rudder out of it. This part will lay flat against the back of the hull, and then I'm going to fold this down so I can apply pressure, sealing the rudder into the back of the hull. See how it's sticking up like that? That's pretty cool. A little bit of glue residue around here. Probably should get a wet towel or something and wipe that up. Or just use my hands. Alright. So that looks like it's put together. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the hull on the deck. Right? So we have to fold these up where they're going to match the deck, right? That's how those are all going to work. And same with this side. Now I'm just folding them now. I'm going to fold them right back down just to apply some glue to them. Okay. And we're going to start with the front. Okay. Folding them up. Not this piece. Kind of give it a little bit of a curve. You know what? I might have to do both sides at the same time here. Let's see if we can. Or at least this piece. Okay. Okay, now we're working on the port side. wrap it, and I'm tucking pieces up underneath, right? And I'm kind of applying a little bit of pressure when they get to where they need to be. Okay. Starting to come together, right? Okay. It's a little bit of a warp right there. All the tabs underneath, even one folded over right there. All right, now the next thing is we've already assembled the rudder, and now we're gonna glue this underneath the ship, right? We're gonna glue it right there. And then we're also gonna glue these tabs Wait, what? All right, now the next step, I made a mistake, and I want to let you know how I'm going to go ahead and rectify it. On the next piece, what we're supposed to have done is glued the tab underneath the ship, right? And then I was supposed to have glued these two tabs to the back of the hull. And then at that point, I was supposed to take this piece and fold it down and glue it. So what I've done is I've printed another one of those back plates so that once I get these tabs glued onto this back hull, I can just drop this down in there and glue it. Because I'm an idiot. I'm a stupid. All right, so let's go ahead and I was jumping ahead. I thought I was doing good by getting this rudder back plate finished before I glued everything together, but yeah. All right, now let's fold this up, lining up the edges of the hull so that it's not all janky. Okay, covering up those tabs. Oh wow, that looks pretty good. Only downside I see right now is this front has a slight swoop on it right there, so when I've got it laying down, I have to apply some pressure here to get the ship to lay flat, right, both ends. I guess if I had put some weight on this, it would lay flat. And then I would let it dry like that, and it would probably dry flat like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give this some weight to it. I'm going to put some weight on it. I'm going to let it dry for about 10-15 minutes, and then we'll come back with some more steps. Okay. While we're allowing that pressure to happen, I'm going to take this main mast and I'm going to glue it together. I've got these tabs that need to go underneath this top piece, and then I've got these tabs which we're not gonna glue to anything, and then I've got this one thing that'll fold around and glue together. So let's go ahead and apply some glue to these little bitty tabs up on top, underneath the square. There we go. And then along this is the main mast. This is the long giant mast. Okay. a little tricky to get everything to fold up properly. Okay. End of the mast is glued shut. Now I'm going to sit here and hold it for just a second. Give it a little bit of time to dry before I set it off to the side. Especially this top piece, because it wants to pop open. Now we're going to do the exact same thing with the upper and lower booms. So I'm going to go ahead and get those done, and once I get those glued together and set aside, I'll be right back. Alright guys, we're going to go on to the next step, which is to take the main mast that you let dry. You're going to push it up under through the hole at the bottom of the ship. And remember that the dots, wherever they are, these two dots go to the rear of the ship, because that's where you're going to attach the other masts. So they go in like that, so you can see the dots facing backwards. Okay, now before you do that, you're going to need to glue these tabs underneath there, right? Of course. So, two ways we can do it. We can apply glue to the tabs, and apply glue to the bottom of the ship, like so. Find the dots, align it to the back of the ship, push this all the way through, and of course apply a little pressure for the mast to grip the tabs, getting rid of any excess that I might have, which I've got quite a bit. And then apply some pressure down here on the top. All right, now, key point. This is good, right? But a little bit of glue came through. That's okay. We have this underplate, which actually we glue this to the bottom of the ship to cover all of these tabs. It basically disguises all of them, right? So let's apply some glue across my entire, I call it a ship, but really it's just a boat. It's a patrol boat. I'm making sure that I get it along the edges, because that's where any gaps might appear, right? But then I want to have it a little bit in the middle too, all over that, what do you call it, sail, mast. There we go. Now I could put the plate like this, but I'm going to put it like this so you can see the name of the designer right there, the advertisement. I don't mind, doesn't hurt me, helps him. Apply pressure around all the outer edges. Put some weight in there. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put some weight, because I want this thing to glue to dry, you know, relatively flat. relatively. The mast going. Okay. I'll let that sit for a few minutes, and then we'll be right back. Notice how all that white is showing right there? Don't worry. I get all that fixed. Okay, so now while this is drying, we're going to go ahead and assemble this. What I did was I folded that plate over and I glued it. Now this piece here doesn't have any tabs or anything to glue to the ship. They say it'll swing freely. I don't think I really like that. I probably am going to apply a bead of glue along the bottom edge here just to hold it into place while I glue these 4 sides or 3 sides down. Oh. Let's go ahead and get that done. Okay, so now I'm going to pop this out about the right height while I get my fingers up inside there to apply some pressure. They call this the quarterdeck and brig. Call that the quarterdeck and brig. Okay. I'm gonna wait. Okay, now the masts go on this thing like that, and I'm anticipating no way to hold that in place. I probably should have glued this and that to this. I could have laid it down and just let it dry. And then, no, then I wouldn't have been able to put it up through the hole. Okay. Maybe some tape or something to hold it in place. I don't know how I'm going to hold that in place other than just using my hands. All right, so let's give it a shot. Let's do that. Apply a heavy coat of glue on the bottom here. I'm going to apply some glue to the dot. And if you notice, this thing has like an angle to it. So you don't want it down because then it would be down like that. You want it actually up like this. So let's go ahead and... Ooh. Oh my gosh, it's sticking. Okay, so I better hold it and let it dry. I probably could put something underneath this to prop it up and let it dry that way. Maybe, I don't know, we'll figure it out. Apply some pressure. I'm going to hold it for about a minute. Okay, we're going to try this a different way because that glue didn't want to stick. Aleene's tacky glue. Rub it around a little bit, smearing it. Get it on both surfaces. I'm going to let it dry for about a minute and then I'm going to stick them together. See how that works. Alright, it seems like that Aleene's tacky glue is working a little bit better. I'm holding it vertical so that the weight of it goes against the mast. This is cardstock, so it's not heavy at all, but I just don't want the, because of the leverage, I don't want the total weight of that to pull it down. Okay. I could probably Yeah, I can stand it up. So that'll allow me to get started on working on the second piece. Now I'm just going to go ahead and use the Aleene's tacky glue. Going to spread it around. Don't fall, you sucker. And when you apply the top mast as well, or I guess, what do they call that? A rigging, it's going upwards as well. So it's got an up angle as well. Okay. So I'm going to let both of those, you notice that one's a really sharp angle. I'm going to let both of these dry in my hands for about a minute again. I'm just going to keep giving it time to dry because I'm going to get ready to put some sails on here. Sails might actually hold it together better, but it also might apply some weight to it and cause it to drip. So we're just going to mount it, let it, whoa, maybe not like that sharp, maybe like that. All right, let's give it a minute. Okay, so now while I'm letting that dry, I'm going to go ahead and apply some texture to, not texture, but some waviness to my sails. So I'm kind of using my thumb and my finger just to kind of give it a gentle squeeze to kind of make it look like it's blowing in the wind. It's not perfectly straight, right? And then I'm going to do the opposite on the back side, so it'll give it like an S shape. I do this with my Napoleonic flags as well, but nothing on this grand scale. Yeah, this is a very big thing. And then I'm going to wheel this back a little bit. Not a whole lot, you know, just a little subtle. Just a subtle curve there, and a subtle curve there and here. There. Now I'm going to do the same with this. I'm going to give it a pull like it's catching the wind. Like that. Okay. All right, now what I'm going to do is a little bitty test here. Seem to be pretty good. I'm going to stand it up like this. I'm going to give it just a few seconds to kind of see what the situation is with that. Now, I already knew I wasn't going to be able to use these to put the sails on. I was going to have to use the Aleene's. I knew that already. When you put the sails on, you put the main sail on the port side, and you put the, what do they call it, the jib, the mizzen mast, the mizzen, what do they call this? The jib sail? I don't even remember what they call it. But I'm going to hook this on the starboard side, and I'm going to hook this on the port side. But first, let's go ahead and do the starboard side sail. It's going to hook to the mast at the bottom and the top, and I want it to touch the front. So what we're going to do is apply some Aleene's at all four corners. Okay, so that first sail is on there, and you can see it's catching some wind. Now the same thing with this one. This is going to, the point here is going to go close to there, where these two this is supposed to rest on top of the pole. Okay, that looks good. All right, so now we're going to put some aliens in all the corners. And then we're going to apply the top sections kind of first-ish in a way. I got to line up all four. Kind of simultaneously. You don't want it sticking over the mast. Okay, so I'm pulling it up to allow the front to stay in contact, because the weight of this second sail is trying to pull the whole thing down. But I want it to lean a little bit to the front where the whatever that type of sail is called. I guess that's called the jib sail, and that's called the mainsail. The jib sail. It's a jib. Okay. Learn something every day. Okay, so what I'm going to do is prop this up a little bit so that this can dry. I want it to dry with the weight of the sail going forward, actually, right? Perfect. All right, so by propping it up, the weight of the sail is going to go forward. It's going to glue to the front. Once this dries, we'll be back to do some finishing touches. All right, now the final touch for this boat is the Sharpie. I get a black Sharpie. I go over the edges with my black magic marker to kind of disguise that white line that you see. So what we do is drag our little Sharpie along the edge. Just like that. See this white along the edge? We're going to take it and we're going to have it disappear. Alright, so now you can see the difference between the white and the black. Alright, let's keep going. plus any imperfections, any irregularities where the two pieces of paper did not match together properly, or I should say perfectly. The black will disguise. When you score it, you fold it, there's nothing left but a white piece of paper. And by hitting your sails, you basically accentuate the sails as well. So think of it like black lining on a 3D model that you painted. You separate the colors using a black line, or in this case, you're getting rid of the white and creating shadows. Now if I do another one of these boats, I'm going to do some black lining of these masts before I glue the sails on, because you can't get everywhere with the sails already glued on there. Makes it really hard to get into certain places. Not that anybody could see down there, but just in case. Okay, I got whoops right here. Yeah, the place where I folded the quarter deck, you got to do that. Okay, I think I've got... Alright, now there's nothing like throwing a couple of figures on your new boat. There's a bard playing his lute, and then we can say that's the captain of the ship. You know, it looks like... You know, you could put these guys all over. Looks pretty good. I'm liking it. Alright guys, well if you want to see any more model building like this, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and if you want to get notified, be sure to hit the notification bell so that you can get notified of when I upload new videos or when I go live. And alright, well thank you for coming out and checking out this video, and I see you next time.